Marc Marquez is on the verge of MotoGP immortality, but his dominance has the paddock divided. Some hail him as a reborn genius, racing with ice-cold precision. Others whisper that his stranglehold on the 2025 season has sucked the suspense out of the championship. 10 Grand Prix wins, 13 sprints, and a 175-point lead. It feels unstoppable. But here's the question. No one dares to ask out loud. Is Marquez saving MotoGP with his brilliance, or slowly breaking it by being too good? Marc Marquez in 2025 isn't just leading MotoGP. He's redefining what domination looks like. 10 Grand Prix victories, 13 sprint wins, a points gap so massive it feels untouchable, 175 clear of the nearest rival after just 14 rounds. At this rate, the San Marino Grand Prix isn't just another stop on the calendar. It could be the scene where Marquez officially becomes a 7-time Premier Class world champion. But as overwhelming as the statistics are, the real story of 2025 isn't found in numbers. It's in the transformation of Marquez himself, and in the shockwaves that transformation is sending through the MotoGP paddock. The Marquez we're seeing today is not the reckless teenager who burst into MotoGP in 2013, nor the broken man we saw struggling through injuries just a few seasons ago. This is a calculated, evolved version of Marc, someone who has taken the sharp edges of his past and turned them into a weapon of precision. I don't need to win every battle to win the war. He's hinted more than once this season, and that mindset is playing out on track. No more desperate lunges, no more throwing away podiums for the slim chance of a win. Instead, Marquez is showing restraint, choosing his moments, controlling the pace, and pouncing only when the reward outweighs the risk. He's riding with the calmness of a veteran, but the hunger of a rookie. It's a frightening combination. And the results speak for themselves. Not only is he winning, but he's finishing races with a consistency that feels almost alien compared to the injury-hit campaigns of the past. The crash count has plummeted. The DNFs are almost non-existent. He's removed chaos from his racing without sacrificing speed, and that might be his greatest achievement yet. Of course, none of this happens in isolation. Ducati has provided Marquez with the GP25, a machine capable of pure destruction when mastered. But what's fascinating isn't just the bike's potential, it's Marquez's role in shaping it. Inside the Ducati garage, engineers talk about Marc like he's part rider, part engineer. His feedback isn't just descriptive, it's diagnostic. He tells them what's happening, why it's happening, and what needs to change. He knows what the bike needs before we even run the data. One Ducati staff member said, "That's not just talent, that's technical brilliance." Riders often adapt to bikes. Marquez, in contrast, bends the bike to his will, refining it, improving it, molding it around his style. It's a partnership rather than a compromise, and it's producing frightening results. Even more impressive is the atmosphere he's creating in the team. For all his fame, Marquez hasn't turned the Ducati box into a kingdom. Younger engineers say he listens first and speaks second. Crew members mention his humility, his willingness to crack jokes and ease tension on race weekends. Far from being a diva, Marquez has become a leader, one who lifts the entire operation. And that's why Ducati isn't just faster this year. They're calmer, sharper, and more unified than ever before. Earlier in the season, it looked like the story might revolve around the Marquez brothers. Alex Marquez, riding the Ducati Desmosedici GP24, was his closest challenger in the opening rounds. For a moment, fans dreamed of an inter-family title fight, the kind of drama that MotoGP storytellers would have drooled over. But as the rounds ticked by, Marc pulled away. His consistency widened the gap, and Alex, while steady, simply couldn't match the relentless pace. To his credit, Alex hasn't let frustration define him. Instead, he's spoken openly about the situation. "We don't have the responsibility to try to beat Marc," he admitted, "but sharing the grid with him, that's the greatest lesson." That humility says a lot. He knows he's in the shadow of a giant, but he's turning that into motivation rather than resentment. It's an emotional subplot to the larger season. One brother rising to legend status, the other quietly finding his own path in the margins of greatness. If the Marquez brothers' story is one of evolution, then Francesco Bagnaia is one of collapse. Once the face of Ducati's future, Bagnaia has faltered in 2025. Confidence shattered, performances inconsistent. certain track types exposing weaknesses he just can't seem to mask. Bagnaya's name, once synonymous with titles, now sits outside of contention, a painful reminder of how quickly fortunes shift in MotoGP. Some insiders believe Bagnaia never truly adapted to the GP25's quirks. Others whisper that the psychological weight of being Ducati's poster boy has crushed him. Whatever the reason, his struggles have only magnified Marquez's dominance. When the man who was supposed to be Ducati's golden child falters, and the supposed outsider shines, the narrative practically writes itself. Ducati is still winning, but not with the rider they expected. And yet, Marquez refuses to dwell on rivals. Asked about the championship gap, he shrugs it off. Asked about Bagnaia's struggles, he offers sympathy, but not gloating. For Marc, the focus is internal. He talks about consistency, about precision, about momentum. The important thing is to carry this into 2026. He said recently, "Winning is one step, but not the final step." That statement reveals everything. For Marquez, 2025 is not the destination, it's preparation. He's treating a championship season like a testing ground, ironing out flaws, sharpening weapons, laying foundations. The rest of the grid sees an unstoppable champion. Marquez sees a launch pad. It's not as though the rest of the MotoGP field hasn't tried. Riders like Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini, and Maverick Viñales have all had flashes of brilliance. Martin in particular has shown bursts of pace, but inconsistency continues to haunt him. Bastianini has wowed crowds with daring overtakes, but his luck has often run cold. And Viñales, the eternal enigma, continues to oscillate between brilliance and anonymity. Together, they've diversified the podium picture, yet none of them have managed to sustain a credible challenge to Marquez. The effect has been paradoxical. While the championship feels less like a two-horse race and more like a mosaic of challengers, it's only served to highlight Marc's relentless consistency. He doesn't need to win every duel because he wins the season-long war by never faltering. What makes this season especially fascinating is the way Marquez is already framing it as a stepping stone. He isn't talking about legacy or final chapters. He's talking about evolution, about carrying form into 2026, about being better, sharper, stronger, even after title number 7. It's almost unsettling. When a rider reaches the top, the instinct is often to savor it, to bask in the glory. Marquez, however, treats it like a checkpoint. That hunger is what made him a champion in the first place, but combined with his newfound precision and maturity, it makes him look like something even scarier, a champion who's still improving. And here's where the controversy creeps in. Among fans and pundits, opinions are split. Some celebrate Marquez's dominance as proof of genius, a once-in-a-generation rider proving he's still untouchable. Others argue that his stranglehold is draining suspense from the season, turning races into inevitabilities. Is this brilliance, or is it boredom? Is he saving MotoGP with his mastery, or smothering it under predictability? Inside the paddock, the respect is universal, even if the emotions aren't. Rivals admire him, but you can sense the frustration. How do you fight a man who no longer makes mistakes? How do you unsettle a rider who no longer bends to pressure? Marquez has become less a rival and more a mountain, towering, immovable, daunting to even approach. With San Marino looming, the climax feels less about whether Marquez will secure the title and more about how he will choose to do it. Will he crush the field with another dominant display, or will he seal the deal with a cautious, calculated ride? Either way, the narrative is clear. The championship is his, the season is his, and the future is his to shape. For Ducati, this season has been a revelation, not just improving the GP25's capabilities, but in watching how Marc has transformed the garage culture, lifted morale, and turned engineering into art. For rivals, it's been a brutal reality check, and for fans, it's been both thrilling and unsettling. A season of awe at what one man can do, and dread at how unstoppable he looks moving forward. And so, as Marquez stares down a 7th crown, the biggest question isn't whether he'll win. That feels inevitable. The question is what comes after. If this new, evolved Marquez is only getting started, then how much higher can he climb? How much stronger can he become? And perhaps most provocatively, will anyone in MotoGP be able to stop him at all? So what do you think? Has Marc Marquez saved MotoGP with his brilliance, or has his dominance made the championship too predictable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more MotoGP news.